History is the basis of everything. Sharing where we come from is the only way to see where we'll go.
The Carmel Mission Foundation was established to restore and preserve the historic buildings, grounds, and artifacts throughout the Carmel Mission, a National Historic Landmark founded in 1771.
What makes this mission unique is the large basilica behind me, built in 1797 from stone, which lasted the test of time. The buildings surrounded are made of adobe, and without proper preservation and upkeep, they crumbled into ruin. And continual preservation is required to preserve and strengthen them so they won't fall to ruin again. The Foundation's objectives is to restore and preserve the entire Carmel Mission property that encompasses this front area you're viewing right now, all the way down to the Mission Orchard, which is now used as the Carmel Youth Baseball Field.
The state of California mandates that all masonry structures be reinforced to stay in operation. This put an enormous financial burden on the parish to keep this national landmark and museums operable. With the community's support, the Carmel Mission Foundation was created in 2008. Joining community members and parishioners together, the foundation raised the necessary funds to strengthen and restore the renowned basilica in 2013, the central courtyard in 2016, and the historic Downey Museum and Basilica forecourt in 2021.
The Downey Forecourt project focused on two areas: restoring the 100-year-old Downey Museum that's behind me, as well as the front forecourt of the Basilica that was originally designed in 1936.
The museum adobe was completed in 1921 as a visiting priest quarters to open the Carmel Mission regularly and bring in a parish to help drive a community system that was not here prior.
The century-old adobe walls were structurally overstressed and deteriorating. By law, this required warning signs to be placed on the exterior doors stating it was unsafe in the event of an earthquake for over 200,000 visitors and 6,000 elementary students who walk the mission grounds annually.
Seismically strengthening this building was one of the main goals of this restoration, which required the removal of the century-old roof. We then cored through the historic adobe, adding steel rods through the exterior and interior walls in order to ensure a safe environment for those visiting the museum.
It's quite amazing that the process of adobe has held out for all these years with, very little failure.
Adobe is a unique product to work with. Coring down through a dirt-like material, super sensitive.
It's harder to work with. It's just the wood, it's easier, you can do whatever you want to the wood and to adobe. Things doesn't stick to it,
To provide structure for the adobe, place the holes in the wood so that they can drill all the way down to the foundation. Put concrete and rebar down in there, it's amazing, really.
Made some holes, ran some wire through the walls, made some outlets and grouted all, put the roof back on it.
We removed the plywood off the roof, right down to the substructure, and then put some more structural framing up there, and they put insulation in.
We safely removed and returned the original roof tiles, reinforced the roof beams, and restored the Carmel stone fireplace built in 1920.
This fireplace was painted solid white throughout the years. We had probably 6-7 coats of it, and so we had a crew come in and take off the white layer through chemical sanding, scraping. And then there was one part in this area that had a fireproofing on it. The fireproofing would not come off. It was embedded into the stone. Put a nice masonry primer on it and made it look like rock again. Really, we're just restoring it back to as much as original as possible to, people can see what it looked like 100 years ago.
As you enter the museum, we remove the hazardous steps and widen the paths to allow ADA accessibility to all entrances. We remove 2 large multi-story restrooms from the back side of the museum, doubling the museum's interior floor plan. We created 2 new family ADA restrooms from the storage area behind the museum and built a new facility in the central courtyard to accommodate visitors. After removing all the plumbing, we lowered the museum floor, making the interior all one level as it was originally designed. We were thrilled to find the interior doorways built in 1920, which opened the museum interior space.
The Basilica forecourt was built in 1936, and with the exception of the aggregate added in the late 1960s, no other restoration has taken place. The courtyard surface was cracked throughout. Steps hindered museum access, and uneven surfaces were trip hazards for visitors. The front adobe wall and iconic arch had decayed and were removed previously due to unsafe structural issues.
The main focus of the courtyard restoration was to eliminate the drainage issues that were affecting the foundation of the renowned basilica. Much of this project was in the groundwork underneath the concrete aggregate. We added proper irrigation, gutters, and other drainage solutions, installed new fire lines, and laid the infrastructure for future museum restoration needs. We removed the cracked, sloped aggregate and leveled it, returning the step-free pathways throughout the courtyard and garden.
New copper rain gutters were added to all structures surrounding the forecourt to preserve the adobe walls. Overgrown landscaping was removed from the garden, revealing the historic stone perimeter wall. And new irrigation was added to optimize and conserve water. All the wall stones were reused throughout the garden, and new stones to match were added to create seating areas, raised beds, and to highlight the paths and fountain.
We were matching the existing, which is more of a stack pattern, where it's loosely stacked together and then backfilled with dirt, as opposed to being on a foundation with a supported system behind it. So it was more of a traditional style. Minimal differences around the fountain was one of them. That was a single rock, and we beefed it up a little bit, made it a little bit taller so it can withstand more dirt and pressure on the back of it.
Over time, the bowl, which is the middle section there, had a dip in it, and so water would pour out one side. The plaster company came in, renovated the bowl, so now it acts like a fountain, flows like a fountain. Before, they used to literally fill up buckets of water when it would evaporate and fill it up, but now they have a fill valve, they've got a float. I mean, it's kind of state-of-the-art as far as fountains go. And that color was the color it was, and it faded with water, sun, wind, whatever, over that many years.
For me in particular, I did the bench construction here. Did a little structure into the concrete to hold the post in place. This is all 6x14 redwood, vertical grain, no knots. It's called FOHC, which is free of hard center, so that it shouldn't twist. No nails, no hardware showing, no nothing, yeah. And it's sturdy. It's not going anywhere, yeah.
The front perimeter wall crumbled in August 2020. The foundation was able to remove it at that time and construct a temporary wall until it could be rebuilt during this project. We reconstructed the perimeter wall to match up to the remaining adobe. We were able to refurbish the main entrance gates and add a new visitor entrance for easier visitor flow.
That one over there was really rotten from the weather out here, so we had to patch it in with the original redwood, had spindles.
We added new exterior lighting to highlight the historic walls, gardens, and buildings in the evening, and added new electrical and power needs to the Downey adobe to anticipate the museum function.
They're an LED product, but they're actually look super old. They're a copper material that's custom made for here. At night, it really gives a great ambiance, sort of just shadowing the rock walls and of the walk paths here.
We are overwhelmed with gratitude for the donors and the project team involved in completing this restoration in time to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Carmel Mission. To be able to walk through these historic grounds, take our children through here and talk to them about its history, from early mission life through the founding of California and as our community and the Monterey Peninsula developed around it. Now it's your turn to come down and appreciate all the mission has to offer. See this beautiful restoration, spend some time in the revitalized courtyard, walk through this restored adobe museum, and remember the incredible piece of history it is.
Over the past decade, your donations to the Carmel Mission Foundation led to the successful restoration of the renowned basilica, the large central courtyard, the Downey Museum and Basilica Forecourt, many small conservation projects, and the creation of the Sarah Memorial Circle to commemorate your contributions in perpetuity. Individual plaques were placed in the Forecourt and Downey Museum to honor the two major donors whose significant contributions made this restoration happen. With 8 historical structures, including 4 museums and the oldest house in California that still need restoration, and the preservation needs of incredible art and historic artifacts dating back to 1558, we will continue to need your support.
We are so grateful for the donors who are able to contribute to this incredible restoration in time to commemorate the 250th anniversary of Carmel Mission. Thank you on behalf of the Carmel Mission Foundation's Board of Directors, the community of Carmel by the Sea, and the hundreds of thousands of future generations of visitors that will walk through these grounds and enjoy what your contributions made happen.